Hi, this is Mishael Porembski.
And I'm Pastor Ron Wean.
And you're listening to the 180 Your Life podcast, where we pair health and wellness with the grief journey. This is part 2 of our Hope for the Holidays podcast sessions. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here, Ron.
Oh, it's my privilege.
And so unexpectedly, my father passed away 2 days before Thanksgiving last week. Yes. And I knew that my dad was frail, but I didn't see it coming the week of Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So in the previous podcast, we shared Empowering Ground Zero and different things, new things that I've learned. In this podcast, we want to talk about healthy choices after loss. So I've got 4 points to share, and then we'll unpack them. One being I'm choosing healthy foods. So that was the first choice I made. The second, keeping a rhythm. The third, managing triggers. And the fourth, movement. These have been really helpful steps in moving forward. I'm only on day 6 after my father's passing, and he really was a major, major part of our lives. But knowing these grief-empowering steps has been very helpful in my life. And then learning new ones, like allowing my children to really have a voice in the process, not being so busy on the phone or coordinating that I miss my children.
Yeah, kids usually get forgotten in this whole process.
They really do. They get hungry. Because everybody's moving so quickly, they get sent outside to play, and people don't want to cry in front of them. So they know something bad is happening, and they just have, I imagine, that hollow feeling inside.
Yes, and they're stuck with it on their own, and they don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. So in this process with my dad, since my husband passed away when I was pregnant with Sophie, over 10 and a half years ago. So my dad has really been a father figure to my girls. And that's a huge deal. So it's like a second father figure loss, which I was pre-grieving for years. And so so now, picking up from yesterday, we're driving home from the hospital. And my neighbors, thank God, my neighbors drove. I was going to drive, and they're like, no, we'll drive. That was smart.
That was smart, yeah.
Not me driving. And because you do feel quite numb leaving that space, the hospital. Mm-hmm. And then they said, where do you want to go? I said, well, we need healthy food, so we're going to go to Whole Foods. It's just because Whole Foods is not because they promote us or anything, but because they're close to my house. So we stocked up on Whole Foods, and I cried and shopped and cried and shopped. Just
quite a rhythm there.
I know, right? And then I was making healthy smoothies by day 2 with good oils in it, like I talked about with Linda, to boost my immune system. I was putting hemp seed oil and cod liver oil in there to feed my brain. Mm-hmm. I was putting green powder, spirulina, chlorella, green algae, to boost my energy. Avocado, emergency avocado. Avocado feeds the brain. And one of the first things I did on day 1 was I was like, I need an avocado. I need my emergency avocado.
Let's save the avocados.
I know. And so the avocado is calming to the body, calming to the brain. So I did what was necessary to nourish my body, nourish my children. I had friends come in and help, and I could make sure, my kids are getting the food that they needed. Yeah. And then friends came over with little ones, and they started jumping on the trampoline and playing. I was like, girls, what do you want? They're like, we would like to watch a movie. I go, what kind of movie? We would like to watch a comedy. Well, okay then. So
they were in their rhythm because you made it safe enough for them to find their rhythm because you found yours.
Yes. One of the things that we did too was a neighbor came over, our neighbors who took us to the hospital. We got settled in, we ate, and she came over with cleaning supplies, and she said, I'm going to help you clean. Not that my house was in a terrible state, but people were going to come over. And that was such a practical gift to just, I'm going to help, what can I help you do? I'm like, I need help vacuuming, because then in that moment, easy things become difficult. And I knew that if I had people that came alongside me, that I wanted my house in order. And once we all worked to put the house in order, then we had some snacks and we watched a movie. And it just spoke peace. This place will not be a place of chaos. This place will be a place of peace for my children. And that was the most important thing to me. Another thing was, so we've talked about rhythm. I've actually fallen into a pretty good rhythm for myself, which is I learned something. I'm 10 years into a grief journey, so I'm not new to grief. And so my mode is writing. And I'll learn something through the day, and then in the morning, have a quiet time, and then I want to write. I want to write about what I've learned. And so I write before my children get up. I might post it on Facebook, so you can check out our Facebook pages, because that's what I do. Yes. I turn my pain into a purpose. It really helps. And then I feel like I've given birth to that idea for the day, and then I'm free. And then this has been a different process. It was during the holidays. A lot of people had plans. So I was on my phone minimally, hard to get a hold of, sorry. And because my kids were on vacation and I was going to be with my children as we went through this transition. And the result has been, and so I would play with my children. We have gone to the zoo this week. We have been out and about. We have cooked things. We had Thanksgiving meal. I did stuff I've watched some movies with my kids. I've talked with my kids. I've read stories to them. So we'll have a full day. And then around 5 or 6 o'clock, I'm missing my dad. Yes. So I might have a really good cry. And then it's time to get, so good food, good times. What did I write? The process has been writing good food, good friends, so safe people around me, play with my kids, good sleep, sometimes a good cry. And as it has happened, I'm going to talk about that in the next podcast, about allowing my children into my grief space and how empowering that is. But I guess, so step one was making good food, was making healthy choices with the smoothies. Step 2 was keeping your rhythm. Step 3 is managing triggers. Sorry you have to listen. You're just mostly listening today, Ron.
Yes.
You're a good listener.
I try to be.
So what's been it's been interesting to me is grief is a little bit like pregnancy. Like, everybody's got a story. So when you're pregnant, I remember people were like, oh my gosh, when I gave birth, it was horror. And they just go into all these stories. Well, super awesome, love with all my heart, amazing friend. And people are going to say stuff that may not jive with you at that moment. It's okay to be honest and go, I can't manage that right now. So somebody was telling me a story about, well, so-and-so, when they had grief, this happened, and then this person died, and then this. And I was like, ooh, I'm beginning to feel really sad. This is scaring me a little bit. Just thinking about more death, and I just...
You've got plenty to deal with.
And so I just put my hand on them and I said, I love you, and I really love that you're here. I can't manage more grief at this moment. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. You're totally right. I'm so sorry. I said, that's okay. It's okay to be really honest, gently, and to redirect. And I think in that way, people are afraid of saying the wrong thing. And you know what? I went to a Memorial Day service the day before, and I said the wrong thing. And I'm like, I can't believe I just said the wrong thing. Because you love the person. Like, it was for a neighbor of mine. And you just end up saying like, well, this is what I said. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said it. This is the cushion of grief. But when it gets harder, I'll be here for you guys. And they're like, I think we're feeling pretty good now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I remind them that it gets harder, Right. But you don't mean to say the wrong thing. Even I say the wrong thing. But you can redirect and still be in relationship. And I think people are going to make mistakes, and you say, you can still come here. Let's just do a soft redirect, and it's going to be okay.
But you were in a rhythm. You were allowing yourself to find your grief rhythm. And if you weren't in that rhythm and that would have happened, you would have probably gotten really reactionary. And you managed it. You absolutely did manage it well.
You know, speaking of rhythms, I forgot. And sometimes in my heart, I'm like, Lord, we're done with grief, right? Like, we're done. And I knew, I'm good. I don't want to do anymore. And then there was I knew my dad eventually, because he was frail, that eventually he would pass. Right. I forgot about the part where you cry in like just random moments. And so I was on my way to Whole Foods day 2. And right as I'm turning, I feel sobs coming on. So, number 1, that's why people go and get food for you. Number 2, really,
there,
right? So you're not driving during that time. And number 2, I just sat in the parking lot at Whole Foods and wept with one of my dear friends with me. And right at that time, my spiritual, the person who's the spiritual shepherd of our family called and spoke life. I was just like, Lord, I need your help. I need your help. And right in that moment, that person called and spoke life. So there is that crying out to God to be there. And I think that is the safest boundary of all. Right in the beginning, when I knew that my dad had passed, I spoke to my girls. We got a neighbor. We prayed. Like, we just ran to the Lord and held on and said, I know you have a purpose in this, and we're going to trust you in this process. So that peace that passes understanding, I cannot self-generate that, but holy moly, it's real. It's real. With the Lord, I have a peace that passes understanding. And I feel energy. I feel myself. And I really, after Jason, I didn't really feel myself for at least 3 years at least. Really feel myself at year 5. And I'm on day 6. So, and then the last one is, so we've got 1 is keeping your rhythm. 2 is, so when the grief comes, let it pass through you. Don't fight it. Ride the wave, and then you'll eventually make it to shore. And it will come again in a wave, and that's okay. So let the rhythm happen. Manage your triggers. Be honest, and you can say things like, I can't manage that right now. Can we change the subject? That's okay and totally fair. And then number 4, movement. I'm going to tell you real fast, super awesome friends came up from Florida. And I'm just going to say again, this is probably a 20-minute podcast and not a 15-minute one. Super awesome friends came up from Florida in their RV bus. And it was a full-blown bus that was in my driveway. It was awesome. And we had planned that they were going to come for Thanksgiving beforehand. And they were like, do you want us to come? And I said, yes, I really want you to be here. And so they came. They really wanted to go to the zoo. They're this awesome engineer couple, and they know a lot of amazing facts. And they were like, did you know that Zoo Atlanta has twin pandas, that there are only 4 places in the United States that you can see pandas, and Atlanta is one of them. And it's very, very unique that there are twin baby pandas there. So we have to see the baby pandas. Yeah. They're like, so you understand that we're going to come and we want to be with you, but one of our kids, it's all about pandas for her. Right. And so we're going to go to the zoo. And I thought, I don't know if I feel like going to the zoo. So I asked my girls if they wanted to go to the zoo on Friday, which was really day 4 for us. And they said yes. And I thought, oh man, I don't know if I feel like walking around the zoo today. But then I remembered what you said.
Movement.
Bilateral movement, back and forth, You need to be walking to process that grief. Sunshine, being with other people, having some fun.
Absolutely. You got to connect. You got to have fun. You got to respect the fact that you need to move. We are creatures of movement.
Yes.
We've got 2 arms and 2 legs. It's moving.
Yes.
And when we don't, our brain stops working.
Working at an optimum level.
That's right, an optimal level, yes.
So I have to say, going to the zoo, seeing my children playing with their friends from Florida, laughing with my friends, with, my friend and her husband, letting life just unfold, that was beautiful. That was really, it was like a big exhale, and it just reaffirms to my children again, we're going to be all right. It's going to be okay. Now, I'm saying I anticipated my dad's passing for several years. So when it's a trauma grief and a big surprise, it may be a different journey. And we've had that journey. God forbid, I don't want any more journeys like that. But you can take certain things away from this particular journey, like, managing triggers. There's going to, sometimes a big group of people will come and they're all going to say different things. And you don't have to take it all. You can take a break, or you can say, I can't talk about that right now. And then just making sure to incorporate movement into your process. And we're going to talk about in the next podcast, honest grief, compassion, and transformation. And this is where we really talk about how my kids spoke life into this grief situation. And just instead of really holding the reins so tight on what was going to happen during this grief time, relaxing, letting God take over, and letting life happen, and how incredibly life-giving that's been.
So it's God taking control, not us.
Yeah. We have to set healthy boundaries when I see it going too far, where it's going to a place of fear or despair or distress. I'm going to set a healthy boundary. But I'm also going to open up and see what God has for us.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
That's how it's done.
So we've got our next session is going to be, we're going to talk about honest grief, compassion, and transformation. If you'd like to learn more about what we do, make sure to visit 180yourlife.com. Our sister nonprofit is 180yourgrief.org. We're going to, Giving Tuesday is coming up tomorrow, as we're recording this. But if you would like to, we are raising our funds for 2018 for our nonprofit, where we have free widowed workshops, where we train widows to get healthy in body, mind, and spirit, where we offer free group counseling that has bilateral movement. We do a walk and talk with a licensed professional counselor. I know that they do it in California. I think we may be the only ones in Atlanta who offer it for free. And it's a very effective form of post-traumatic stress therapy.
Yes.
So we're all about post-traumatic growth. How can we take loss and use it so that we can live our best, most purposeful life? That's what we want for you. And that's why I'm being so transparent in my ground zero of grief, because there are lessons that I'm learning, and I want to empower you in your journey as well. So thanks for being with us. We hope to see you soon. Check out our 180yourgrief.org website if you would like to help support our Widows Nonprofit Center. We're the only brick and mortar Widows Empowerment Center led by widows for widows in Atlanta, Georgia. We need your help so that we can keep our programs going. God bless. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.